Hello and welcome to the Tech Train. In today's tutorial, we're going to take a spreadsheet made in Excel that might contain a lot of data but doesn't really communicate information into an interactive dashboard that communicates information in a much more visual and intuitive way. We have a menu on the left hand side with buttons that allow us to switch from one view to another to have a look at all the different data that we've collected in the spreadsheet. All of this dashboard is taking data straight from the original sheet here. So let's see how we can do this. Creating this dashboard does not require any advanced skills. It requires no coding and is pretty straightforward, but just a few little tips that I shall guide you through on the way. So let's begin with adding a new sheet down here, and I'm going to call this sheet Sales, because we have data in this sheet here on sales. It's affiliate sales, total profits, income, most popular countries that we're shipping to, and we've got a customer survey on the right here as well, so we want to have a look at that data in a more visual way. So we'll have sales for our sales information. We'll have another sheet here called reach, which will be for our global reach, which countries are we shipping to, and then a third sheet here which we'll call survey. Okay, let's begin then with the sales tab here. What I'm going to do is select the entire sheet by clicking on the button at the top left corner here between the A and the 1, and I'm using the fill color here to fill that color in. Now it's up to you, of course, what color you use. You probably want to use colors that tie in with your brand. That would make sense, especially if you're then showing this spreadsheet or sharing it with other people within the company or with clients. So now we've got the background. The next thing I'm going to do is just widen column A a little bit, and this is going to become a sort of menu. So I'm going to select the whole of column A, and I'm going to give that a sort of a dark grey colour there. There we go. And now let's put some buttons in here. So I'm going to go to Insert and Icons, and I'm going to search for 3 icons that I can add into that menu on the left-hand side. Okay, so let's search for a graph. We'll use that for the sales. So we'll search for graph, and let's have one that's going up. Let's be positive. Let's have that one. There we are. We'll also search for one to do with global reach. So let's have a globe for this one. There we go. We'll use this. And then finally for the survey, we'll have a sort of a clipboard or something. There we go, let's use that one, and then insert all 3 icons. Now we can colour these. Let's colour them the same as the background for the moment. I'll move them onto the left hand side so we can see them, and we'll go to graphics fill, and here are the recent colours I've used. That's that blue that I used for background. So there we go, that will do, and let's put them in the order we want them to be in. So we're going to have the graph at the top like that, then we'll have the global reach, and then we'll have the clipboard like that. If I select all 3 icons, I can go to graphics, format at the top, align, and then distribute those vertically so they're evenly distributed that way, and also align center so that they're lined vertically. There we go. I can add some text underneath each of those as well. I'm not going to click inside the cell and do that. Instead, I'm going to go to shapes and insert a text box from here. There we go, and click and type, and this will be sales. Let's move that over into position. Want to change the font color, of course. We'll make that white, make it a bit bolder. And of course you can play around with the font. I'll leave it like that for the moment. Control D to duplicate that, pop one under here, and this will be reach. And then Control D again, and this will be survey. And again, if we want to, we can select these 3 text boxes, shape format, and just make sure these are aligned center. There we go. And now let's turn these into links. So I'm going to click on the graph here, press Control K to add a link to it. I want to link to a place in this document, and this icon will link to our sales tab. So I'll select that, click OK. We can do the same thing for the text box, but make sure that when you do click on the text box, you then click on the edge of the text box, so you're not actually still typing inside it. Otherwise, you'll just turn the letters into links, which doesn't look so good. So we'll press Control K again, and this is going to link to sales. Now our second icon, reach, Control K, place in this document. This will link to the reach sheet. And let's just do these other ones here as well. Okay, so now we have our menu on the left hand side. What I'm going to do now is click onto the Reach tab. I'm going to first of all just select the color of this the same way that we had the first one done, and I'll do the same for Survey as well. Select that, color the whole thing. So what I'm going to do now is just select column A and right click on it and choose column width, just to make sure I've got the column width here, that's set to 19, and I'm just going to make sure that column A in both the other two sheets are the same width, so 19 for that, and on column A there, column width 19, there we go. And now what I can do is select column A by clicking on the A at the top of that column there, Control C to copy the whole column, click over on Reach and click on the top of column A and press Control V to paste, and then again Survey, click on column A and Control V to paste. So I now have an interactive menu on the left hand side, and that already works. If I click on Reach, you can see it's jumping me to the Reach tab here. Click on Survey, it's jumping to Survey. Click on Sales, we're back to Sales. So that now is already set up as an interactive menu. The next thing to do is to start adding in those visual graphs. So what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to click in the Sales tab, make sure I'm there. I'm going to head up to Insert Shapes, and then I'm going to use a rounded rectangle. I'm going to draw a rounded rectangle. This is going to be sort of a title at the top, so it's going to mostly fill the width there. And I'm going to change the outline to white. I'm going to change the fill to that sort of dark grey that I used on the left hand side, like that. And if you want to as well, you can click this little yellow dot in the corner just to change the angle of the corner. I don't want it quite square, don't want it too rounded either. So somewhere around there probably is about right. I'm also going to go to Shape Effects and just add a shadow to that as well. So we can click on the first one. There we go. So we've now got our title bit. Let's right click inside that and edit text. And here we're going to give it our title. So we'll have TT for the Tech Trainer course, Affiliate Report 2024. Now for this, we'll want to have that centered. So let's press Control E or click the center button at the top here. And then I'll also want to change the font size. So let's increase that font first of all. There we go. Something like that. That's about right. And also the font color. I'm going to go for that blue again, I think. Let's stick with that blue. There we go. And if you want to, you can put the logo on there as well. So let's go to Insert Picture. And we'll place over cells and from this device. So there we go, we've now got our logo. Let's just resize that and pop it into position. There we go, that'll do. Right, next thing to do is I'm going to Control C on the bit at the top here and Control V, or of course you could do Control D to duplicate it. Get rid of the text inside there, and I'm going to resize this, and this will become the first of my summary headings here. So when you resize this, you sometimes find a corner that angle appears to be slightly different. So if that's the case, I tend to just nudge that in just slightly so it seems to match that a little better. So there's the first one. I'll make that just a little bit longer perhaps, and then I can press Control D to duplicate that again, put that over here. And what I tend to like to do, rather than guessing how high that is and doing it by eyeball, I tend to deliberately put that a bit lower, and then Control D for another one which is going to be a bit bigger. This is going to be a graph, so I'll do that, and again just nudge the angle of that corner. And then what I'm going to do is hold the Shift key down and select all three of these up to Shape Format, Align, and then Align Top. And then I know they're definitely all aligned along the top. I'm then going to select the right hand one and also the banner at the top and go to Align and Align Right. So it's now right aligned there. So I can do the same thing on the left here. Now I can see this one is definitely too far out. So I'm going to move that in a little bit. In fact, let's just do that with the keyboard arrows so that I'm not in any risk of moving that up and down, and then I can select these two and choose align left. And then finally I can select these three here, choose align and distribute horizontally, so they're now all evenly spaced. So there we are, that's now got the main bits here. Let's add some text, but for this one I'm not going to click and type inside these boxes. I'm going to insert a text box. So insert shapes text box, click, and this is going to be total sales for 2023, because that table that I had is actually for both 2023 and 2024, so we want to compare those. Let's now again increase the font size and change the font color, and maybe make that bold as well, a little bit bigger. There we go. Whoops, Control Z is your friend. There we are, pop that in there, that's about centered, and I'm going to press Control D to duplicate it, pop that title over here and change that to 2024. And again, what you can do, I'm not going to do it now because it'll take too long, but I would generally put it a little bit lower than I want it, then select both of those, shape format, align top. I'm not going to keep doing that, that's just what I would do, but obviously I'll save a bit of time here. So now what I can do is Control D on that to make another text box, and this is going to include not a formula as such, but it's going to include the total sales for 2023. Total sale for 2023 is this number here. This formula is just summing up the numbers in this column here. So I want the value from this cell here to be inside that text box. How do we do that? Very simple actually. We just simply click in the text box. Let's Control A and delete all the content that's in there now. And still working inside the text box, we come up to the formula bar and we type an equals, just as we're doing a formula. And now let's go over to the Data tab, click on the cell that contains the value we want to display, and then press Enter. And you can see that is now live in that text box. Let's now make sure that's center aligned. Let's change the font size to white so we can actually see it, and increase that so it's nice and big. Make the text box a bit bigger. There we go, that'll do. Now the beauty of this is that even though it's a text box, it is showing live data. So we can see here this is 317,660. So if we go over to data and we change one of the values in this sales column here, so let's just change that by 99. There we go. So you can see that the value here, of course, has now changed. It's now 317,759, and that is the live value shown in this dashboard. So it's not just pretty visuals, it is actually live data that is in real time extracting data from that data source, in this case, that spreadsheet sheet at the beginning. Let's just do one more of these. So Control D, bring that across to the other column here, the other box rather. And again, I'm going to click on the formula bar, delete everything apart from the equals, head over to our sheet and then select total sales for 2024, that value there, press enter. Now you will notice that unfortunately it does tend to get rid of the formatting when you do that. So what I do is click on this box here to select it, head up to Format Painter at the top, click that, and then click anywhere on the box on the right hand side, and that will copy the format across. So now we have our two live data boxes there. Let's go on to add a graph. And in fact, I'm going to add another graph underneath this as well down here. So I'm going to pop that box there, and I'll have one more bit of information which will be down here. So I'll just put these boxes in place for the moment and just adjust the corner angle. Just like that. Okay, so let's add the first graph. So I'm going to go back into the data table, and this graph will be total profit for 2023. So it'll be the data in this column here. So I'm going to select this column, all the data, including the header at the top. I'm going to insert, and then you can either go to recommended charts or just choose the one you want. But here it would make sense if we went to a line graph. So something like that. I think that one there is about the best one for this. Click OK, and there we have our graph. I'm going to click on that graph and press Control X to cut it back into our dashboard and Control V to paste it. Now we need to change this a little bit. So the first thing we can do is get rid of the title at the top. We don't need that. And I'm also going to then right click on the edge of that and go to Format Chart Area. And there's a few things that we can change here. First of all, I'm going to have no fill. I don't want that. Let's just move this across a little bit, and I'll zoom in a little bit as well so you can see this a bit more clearly. There we go. So get rid of the fill, and we also don't want a border, so we'll have no lines. So now we can see that that looks a little bit better already, but it's not very clear. So the next thing I'm going to do is click on the axis on the left hand side. So I've just clicked on these values here, and I can just use the ordinary text formatting button up here to perhaps increase the font size slightly and change the color. We'll do the same thing for the axes along the bottom, so we'll change the color and increase the font size slightly. I also don't think we need these bits at the back, this grid at the back. So the major grid lines, I've clicked on that. You'll see that on the right hand side we have major grid line options, and I can choose either no line there, or I can have perhaps a solid line but a much fainter color. So we could have a light gray there, or even a darker gray, up to you. I think I'm going to get rid of them completely like that. And I'll also click on these horizontal ones and again choose no line. Let's click on the actual graph itself on this line here, and let's change the color of this. So we'll have a solid line, and the color, I think we'll have this, we can have this as white, so it's nice and clear. You can even have it as a gradient. I think on the demonstration at the beginning I did, so I'll just show quickly how to do that. So it's simply a case of clicking on gradient line, clicking on one of these tabs here and choosing the first color. Let's go for that blue that I keep using. Then click on the tab at the other end, and then I'll choose this sort of green color. And you can see how that now kind of goes along in that gradient fashion, although I think at the moment it's doing a vertical gradient. So let's just change that to left to right. So let's do the left to right there. There we go. So it starts blue and ends up green. Still needs to be improved. It's still not that clear. We can of course make the graph a little bit bigger, but I think probably what we need to do here is to make this line a little bit thicker. So if I click on this line here, we can see we've got some options here for width. Let's increase the width a little bit like that. That's a bit clearer. And then we need to look at these markers, these dots. So I think these are a bit too small now. So let's click on those, and we see we have marker here at the top. So let's click on marker. We can have the marker option, and I'll probably choose from the built-in options the circle. That's that one there. And then we can increase the size of that. There we go. Let's have no fill, but let's have the border as a solid line, and we can set that solid line to, let's go for the green color, and we'll also make that a little bit thicker. There we go. How's that looking? Okay, not too bad. I'm not going to fiddle about for too long here, because this is really a demonstration of how to do it, not me making it from scratch with every little last detail perfect. There we are. That's a little bit better, I think. So let's zoom back out again to the actual size of our dashboard. Get rid of the banner on the right. That's something that I would always recommend you do. Close that panel on the right-hand side, because it's surprising how often you can make a beautiful dashboard, but with the panel on the right-hand side, you forget that you've actually not got everything centered. Everything's pushed to the left hand side, and then you have to readjust everything later on. So that's including the first graph there. Let's include a different type of graph. So what I want to do down here, I'm going to make that a little bit shorter, I think, and then make the graph a little bit higher up. There we go. So I can make this a little bit taller. So what I want to do is to compare the figures for target profit 2023 and how we managed to achieve it, along with the target profit and how well or how closely we achieved that. So just so we can see slightly different figures, I'm just going to reduce that down massively so that our targets are a little bit more different. Okay, so I'm going to click on the first target, hold down Control, click on the second target, so we have those two values. I can then go to Insert and Recommended Charts. I want actually all charts, go to Pie Chart and choose this ring here. Click OK. There's our chart. I'm going to press Control X to cut it, head back into our dashboard and Control V to paste it. And again, we'll need to make some changes here. So first of all, I'm going to click on the title, get rid of that. We also don't need the legend. I'm going to click on that and delete that as well. And now we can right click and format the chart area. I want no fill and no border. Let's again just move this over So what I'm going to do is click on this graph and click on the right hand side of this circle here, click on it a second time and choose solid fill, and then we'll choose that blue color like that. And then I'll click on the left hand side and again click on it a second time to make sure it's only the second at the left hand side selected, and change that to our green color. So we're using the same color theme throughout. What we'll also do is click on the whole of that and change the donut hole size. So I want it to be a little bit thicker. So let's just reduce the donut hole size. I think probably about there. That will do. And then what we'll also do on the border is we'll have a solid line, but we'll make that white and a little bit thicker. So let's set the width up like that. There we go. That looks about right. You can play around with that, obviously, for your own personal preference. Let's pop that here, I think, just for speed. We'll just make the two graphs. And again, what I want to do now is to have some text boxes. So I'm going to grab this text box here, Control D, bring that down here. I'm going to change this to target. So this is my target sales, or target profit rather. So target profit. And I'll put that at the top of this section here, move that down slightly, and then I'm going to duplicate that again, move it onto the left hand side, and we'll have this as 2023, and then I think I'll increase the font size on that one and probably make it white as well, and then we can duplicate that, move it onto the right hand side and have 2024. Then I can duplicate both of those and move them underneath, and for the left hand one I'm going to delete the content there, click in the formula bar and type equals, and then go back to my data. And in this case the target profit was, or the total profit rather, for 2023 was 66,190. So let's put in that value there. Again, it's going to get rid of the format, so we'll click on the first one, Format Painter, click on that, and then we'll do the same thing on the right hand side. So delete the text, type in the formula bar equals, click on our spreadsheet, and the value we want over here is the total profit for 2024, which is that value there. Press enter, and again we can just click on the edge of that text box, Format Painter, and copy that across. And what I would probably do here as well is I would deliberately set these two at different heights so that I can select them both, shape format, align bottoms, like that. Then the same for this as well, so we'll align bottom. Then I can take these two, so I'm holding down Shift to select both of them, and align center. And the same for these two, so align center. So that's looking about right. And then I think I want something in the middle here as well. How do we do overall? So let's just Control D to duplicate that value, put it into the middle here, get rid of the text, type in equals in the formula bar, and then we'll get our total, how we did this year, 95%. And once again, we'll copy the format across like that. We can also make sure it's centered and then move that into position. There we go. Let's close that panel on the right hand side, and you can see now how we're already creating this interactive dashboard. So I've got text boxes, I've got these panels, I've got text boxes that include live data straight from the data source, and we've got two graphs there that we've been able to format. So if I just slide back along there, and of course we've got our menu on the left hand side. So although I haven't done all of these, you can see how those are working, and these dashboard bits are here. Now I am going to carry on and do two more little bits to this dashboard, but I appreciate at this point some of you will be fine with this and think, okay, yeah, got the idea, I can run with that and I can play with that. In which case you are under no obligation to remain watching this video, but I will just say that if you found this useful, please do give this video a like. That makes a huge difference to the channel. If you have any comments or suggestions or questions, do leave them below. And if you feel content like this is useful to you, then do click the subscribe button so that you know when new content like this is published. So thank you very much for watching. And for those of you who want to see just a little bit more of this, let's carry on with Reach. So for this one, what I'm going to do is actually have a live graph that shows the countries, and like a heat map basically. So I'm going to start by selecting this box here. I'm going to copy it with Control C, head over to the Reach tab, and then paste that in. And what we can also do as well, I'll just show you this. If we go to Sales, we've got this banner along the top here. We really want that to be included in all of these sheets here. However, if you were to select this banner, and of course the graphic here as well, and press Control C, then go over to Reach and Paste, you see it's not going to be in the same place at all. And you might try and eyeball it and get it about in the right place. The problem is though that when you start jumping between these, you can see it's moving and that doesn't look so good. You want it to be in exactly the same place. So here's what to do. So we need to go over to the Sales tab here, and we can see that this border here is pretty much within the rows 3 to 10. So between rows 3 to 10, that pretty much covers it. So what I can do is select those rows, press Control C to copy them. The first of those is row 3, so I go over to this tab here, click on row 3 and Control V to paste. And I can do the same thing on Survey, click on the 3 on the left hand side, Control V to paste. And now, if we just deselect everything there, now if I jump between these 3 tabs, you can see that banner stays exactly in the same place. So little tip there just to make sure that your dashboard is consistent across different sheets. So how do we do this map then, the heat map I showed you at the beginning? Let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's change the corner angle of that so it looks like it's matching the one at the top. So the data for this is going to be this top countries by sale here. So I'm going to select the whole of this table, including the headings at the top. And with that selected, go to Insert Recommended Charts and All Charts. And this time we're going to go to Map there. Just one option, Filled Map. So we'll select that, click OK. And again, we'll Control X to cut it. Over to our Reach tab, Control V to paste it. And once again, we're going to get rid of the title at the top. Let's just right click on the right hand side and go to Format Chart Area. And here I'm going to go to No Fill, No Line as usual. Make that a little bit bigger. There we are. And what I'm also going to do is change the colors of this, so we can change the colors to match what the colors are of your own brand. At the moment it looks almost as though it does match mine. That's simply because the default is this sort of blue color, bluey teal color. So what I'm going to do is click off the map completely, then just click once somewhere on the map itself, not off it onto the outside here, but onto the map. And then we have this series options and series color. So I'm going to click on series color, and here's where the gradient is, the heat map gradient if you like, from the highest to the lowest. So the highest value, I'm going to go with green as the highest value there, and the lowest value I'll set that to that blue color. So we can then see where the most popular countries are that we are selling things. There are other options here as well, map labels, so you can add labels in for the different countries if you want to. I won't, I think, just because that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. But you can also have map area, only the regions with data. So if there were areas, for example, we don't tend to sell very much in the Antarctic or the Arctic, so we can actually remove those and just have the areas that we are going to be selling in. And you've also got different map projections as well. So the default, of course, is the Mercator, so we can have that one there, which of course makes the US look even bigger. I'll stick with the standard, I think. So let's just have that for the moment. I mean, we don't actually necessarily need to include this. If you don't want to include it, then we can simply delete it entirely by pressing delete. Now what we've got now is the visual graph, but we haven't got the data itself. We might want to include that. So I'm going to just copy one of these background bits here and press Control V. And again, if I was going to spend more time, I'd play around with this and get it all lined up perfectly, but I'm not going to worry about that for the moment. What I'm going to do is simply have a top to bottom list of what the countries are. So let's go back over to data. We've got this data already selected, so I'm going to go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and this time we'll have this as either a vertical or horizontal. I think a vertical one like that will probably do, so we'll just simply select that one, click OK, Control X, and then in our new tab, Control V. Once again, we're going to right click Format Chart Area and have No Fill, No Line, and let's move that across so we can see it. And we also want to get rid of the chart title like that. And I'll make this a bit taller. Unlike pictures, it doesn't matter if you resize things in only one direction. In fact, in this case, it makes it even clearer. Right, let's have the labels on the left-hand side a bit clearer. So I've simply clicked on the labels on the left-hand side, change the format of the font to white and increase the size slightly. But on the bottom, we probably don't even need this access, so I'm going to get rid of that. And the lines here, again, I'm going to press delete to get rid of those. So I'm simply clicking on the bits of the graph I don't want and press delete. I'm going to click on these bars here to select them. So click on the bars and I'm going to change the gap width. I'm going to reduce it, and by reducing the gap width, that makes the bars a bit thicker, which I think is easy to see. There we are, that will do. And of course we also want to change the fill color, so let's have this as, let's do a gradient fill again, and it's remembered the gradient fill we had before, so it's popped that in like that. And now when we click off it, you'll see that although the graph almost meets the right hand edge, there's quite a gap here. So we can, in this situation again, have that graph easily overlapping the right hand side, because when we click off it, it actually looks okay. There we are. And of course you can put some labels on here as well, like we did on this one. We can have these labels. Let's copy one of those and pop this here. Oops, there we are. So we can have the label, top 20 countries by sale, copy that. 20 countries by sale, and we can copy that one and paste it on the right hand side as well if we want to, and just bring the top of our graph down to give us that space. And there we go. So I'm going to save that, and now you can see that we can jump between sales and reach, and we haven't done the survey, but again that's easy enough to have a look at. If you want to have a look at the original demonstration that I had, which I'll just bring this over again. So this is the demonstration which I had at the beginning, which has the sales graphs in here, the reach, like I showed you just now, and also the survey results. So if you like this, I will put a link in the description below where you can download your own copy of this file, just so that you can play around with it, explore the different options, and that might well help you. So if you have any questions, any comments, any thoughts about this at all, do leave a comment below the video. I do read all comments and I try to reply to as many as I possibly can. But if you have any questions, do please leave them there. If you found the video useful, please do give it a like. That makes a massive difference to the channel. And as I said before, if you are not a subscriber already, and the vast majority of the people viewing my channel are not subscribed, which is bizarre in a way, but if you're one of those many people that's not subscribed but you find the channel useful, do please hit the subscribe button. Not only will it mean that you get to see when new videos are released, but it also helps the channel as well. It shows your support for the channel, and that makes a big difference and allows me to spend more time creating more content like this. So thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye for now.